आपको आवाज ठीक आ रही है?
Yes, sir.
अगर डिस्टर्ब
Yes, sir, आ रही है।
अच्छा students, I got two questions for you. It's not a quiz, so try to be very much open. Think about a situation when you were stressed out, when you felt you were in a stress, right? And then based on that situation you have to define stress. What is a stress, or when someone is in a stress, so how he or she feels. And then we'll come over to the next question. So you have 5 minutes to think over it, and then we're gonna discuss. Simply, you just need to think about a situation when you were in a stress, and what can be the probable definition of stress can be.
मैंने पकड़ा तो टूट गया, तो मैंने कहा और ले लो, देखिए कि नहीं आती।
जी, हेलो। अच्छा, मैं कर रहा हूँ। अच्छा चलें, गजनफर, अली जैन और जाफर, आप जरा ऑनलाइन आके बताएंगे कि स्ट्रेस क्या होता है।
सर अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम सलाम।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम
सर
सर।
वालेकुम सलाम।
स्ट्रेस सर एंजाइटी होता है जो कि आप किसी सोच विचार में बढ़ जाते हैं, आपको समझ नहीं आती है कि आप क्या कर रहे हो, मतलब किसी थिंग आप उसमें साइकोलॉजिकली थोड़ा आप डिस्टर्ब होते हैं सर। तो उसमें ये होता है कि आप ध्यान नहीं दे रहे, किसी चीज़ पे फोकस नहीं कर पा रहे होते। तो कभी कभार ये अच्छा भी होता है किसी चीज़ में, ताकि स्ट्रेस की वजह से आप उस चीज़ को फोकस कर रहे होते हो, उसके बारे में सोच रहे होते हो। तो बाकी टाइम ये होता है कि अगर आप स्ट्रेस नहीं लेंगे तो फिर आप लापरवाह होंगे और इसी तरह चीज़ें फिर मिस हो जाएंगी सर आपसे।
अच्छा नेक्स्ट आप बताएं। अली जैन और मोहसिन। जाफर।
सर गजनफर, सर मैं बताऊं।
जी गजनफर आप बताएं।
सर स्ट्रेस वो है जब आप कोई भी अपना ऑब्जेक्टिव अचीव करने के लिए अगर कोई मेंटली या फिजिकली जो अपने ऊपर फील होता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड स्ट्रेस। और ये समटाइम्स ऐसा होता है कि फॉर एग्जांपल आप कोई भी अपना कोई काम करना चाह रहे हैं, ठीक है, जो मतलब कुछ ऐसी नौयत का है कि आप उसको इजीली अचीव नहीं कर सकते, उसके लिए आपको हार्ड वर्क की जरूरत होती है। तो वो जो एक अनवेलमिंग सी फीलिंग्स जो आप उस टाइम आपके ऊपर क्रिएट होती है, दैट इज कॉल्ड स्ट्रेस।
आप अनवेलकमिंग बोल रहे थे या ओवरवेलमिंग बोल रहे थे गजनफर?
सर ओवरवेलमिंग।
जी ठीक है, सही। चले पहले इसकी डेफिनेशन देख लेते हैं, फिर हम आगे बात करते हैं। Basically, the topic is interesting, and I used to deliver the training on stress management. The reason is stress is everywhere, and stress is sometimes chronic, and it can have bad impact on your physical, psychological, and physiological well-being. So that's why it's an important topic. But stress is, according to Dave, someone trying to repair every situation by himself. And well, the interesting part is I just wanted to know a stressful situation when you face. So, students, all of you, I can see above 20 students are here in a class. Can you write a precise statement or precise narration when you were in a stress? All of you, आप लोग अगर चैट बॉक्स में ये लिख दें। बाकी सारों का किधर गया? मरियम, शमशेर, गुड. Hamza. Schooling, my ambition was to join army. हो गया? नहीं, अब तैयबा आपने सिर्फ वो सिचुएशन लिखनी है जब आप स्ट्रेस में थे. इधर. वेरी गुड जी, आप लोगों ने बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बातें लिखी हैं और ज्यादातर को तो स्टडीज का स्ट्रेस होता है. तो चलिए, अच्छी बात है. स्ट्रेस कैन बी ऑफ योर स्टडी, ऑफ द जॉब, और ऑफ समथिंग हैपनिंग इन अ फैमिली, द रिलेशनशिप स्ट्रेस. अब बात करने का मकसद क्या था? पहले हम बात कर लेते हैं व्हाट इज अ स्ट्रेस. स्ट्रेस इज बेसिकली अ काइंड ऑफ अ टेंशन. Itself is at stress. You are stressed out. Khichao, a strain. So that feeling is called stress when you are feeling a kind of stress or a strain or a tension or a pressure in your psychological system, right? When you feel a kind of tension going on in your psychological core, so it means you are in a stress. But technically speaking, stress is pressure or tension exerted. I hope you can see the slides. And stress is a particular, it gives particular emphasis on importance to a point, statement, or idea made in speech or writing. ठीक है, generally speaking, a stress is where I'm stressing sometimes through my voice, through my pauses. So I am stressing on my statement. Stress is the body reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or a response. And workplace stress is a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. So, uh, what you have discussed, basically, you have provided me a narration, and the narration can be based on the emotions or based on your cognition or maybe based on something, a behavioral aspect. So the causes can be manifold, but simply it's about a tension, a strain, or a kind of the stretch you feel in your psychological system. Stress is an adaptive response resultantly from any event, situation, or action placing special demands upon the person. And why that one? So basically, a situation is placing a demand, and you feel quite, hard to come out of that situation, right? Anyways, students, for you, the important part is you are in a stress when you feel a tension, a kind of the stretch जिसको हम खिंचाव बोलते हैं, और a pressure. तो ये बात आप लोगों के लिए याद रखना ही बस important है. Now my second question is, think about the situations what you have provided or what you have mentioned in the chat box. So, was that good or bad? Now I'm not talking about the situation. Obviously, when you feel a kind of tension, it's really bad. Like, if even I recall my stressful situations, I am not going to enjoy that situation. But my question is, what happened next? Did it help out you, or did it make any impact on your performance? So, just figure out, like, you were in a stress when you were, preparing for the exam. And think about a situation when there was the interview and you had to appear in the interview, no matter what kind of result you got, but are you satisfied with your performance or not? So, the question is, that stress was good or bad? Simply write in the chat box, it was good or bad. Good, bad, good, bad. So what's the conclusion then?
I think it is bad because it decreases your rationality. It makes you make decisions that are not very good in the longer run.
What about other students who are of the view stress is good? it helped them in their performance, then what? So students, like the way we discussed conflict, so stress motivate us to do better. Anyways, I got the same indifferent approach. It's good and it's bad. Some of the students are of the view it's bad. Obviously, majority of thinking by the layman it's bad. So that's why we always try to address stress. But sometimes it's good. I'm talking about the outcome of the stress. If I'm not taking the stress of my classes, of my official assignments, or anything like that, I literally can't work. But you gonna agree with me, stress can be good or it's very bad. But students, then how would you now recommend me? अब ये बात तो हमने conclude कर ली है कि sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You had an exam uh, last week. You got to know you have the midterm, so you were quite relaxed, comfortable with your routine. But as you get to know the paper and the exam, and that midterm has a lot to do with your final grading, so you had to prepare. Now that stress help you to get a good marks. I can see in this class so many students, they got 13 or more than 30 marks. So 13 more than 30 means they are, according to the midterm, they are in the ambit of a grade. Anyways, so stress is good, stress is bad. Now what should we do? How can I figure out what kind of stress is good and what kind of stress is bad? A very general question, but you can follow the analogy of conflict management. We discussed the same way, like conflict is good and bad, and then we got a conclusion. Anyways, it's all about you. What do you think, stress is good or bad? How would you guide me?
So there are two factors to stress. One is that you are stressed, but you're not doing anything to resolve that stress. And one thing is that you are stressed and you're doing something to resolve that. You cannot be just stressed about something and not do anything about it. You have to work on something to relieve that stress. And most of the time, the stress just gradually come to us rather than we take initiative to solve that problem. We just take it as a way that we have a pressure on our head and we don't do anything about it.
All right. Shamsher, what do you think?
यस सर.
क्या ख्याल है आपका शमशेर?
सर समटाइम्स सर गुड है और समटाइम्स सर ये जब बहुत ज्यादा आप इसकी क्वांटिटी हो जाए तो ये आपके सर ब्रेन हेल्थ को सर इफेक्ट करता है. कुछ हद तक सर सही है, कुछ हद तक इतना सही नहीं.
अच्छा, चले, बहरहाल याद रखिएगा कि हमने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में क्या बात की थी कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इज गुड एंड बैड, वी फेस द सेम dilemma, and finally we had to look at the type of the conflict as well as the intensity of the conflict, right? So students, you have to follow the same approach. Uh, what you said, it's about the extent of the stress. If you are so much stressed out, then obviously it's hard to perform. So one thing for sure is the intensity, but secondly, it's about the type of the stress. अच्छा, यहाँ पर थोड़ी बात याद रखिएगा कि though it's the type of the stress, rather we call it the type of the stressors. What are the factors making you in a stress? So, students, what make you in a stress is important. The causes of stress are important. We call them the challenge stressors and the hindrance stressors. If you look at the definition of uh, the hindrance, then hindrance means something which is stopping you. Hindrance stressors and the challenge stressors, they are two different things. Hindrance stressors are the bad things like the politics. If I think about organization, then obviously the bad aspects of the job can be the discrimination. I deserve promotion, someone was promoted. I deserve the honorarium, someone got the honorarium. And then it's about challenge stressors. Challenge stressors means urgency, work goals, maybe the time, and like if I have something bound with the time, then I have to deliver it in a particular time. And then
सर आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही।
अब आ रही है आवाज स्टूडेंट्स?
यस सर, अब आ रही है।
जी सर आप
यस
आ
सर,
रही
अब
है।
आ रही है।
ओहो, अच्छा अच्छा। खैर, चले, मैं बता रहा था कि इसमें हम उसके कॉजेस को देखते हैं, उनको हम स्ट्रेसर्स बोलते हैं। यानी स्ट्रेस की टाइप को, जैसे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में हमें टाइप्स थी ना, वी हैड द रिलेशनशिप कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, द टास्क कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, बट इन दिस केस we call them the stressors, what are causing you in a stress. And they are the challenge stressors and hindrance stressors. Hindrance stressors, something is stopping you, and challenge stressors, which are challenging you. Challenge stressors are when you have workload, optimal workload, it's good for you. When you have time urgency to do a task at urgent basis, or when you have given timeline or deadline to do a work. You know, students, the way you work in during your midterms, you can even follow the same approach in your daily routines, but we never go with it. But you know, as you face the stress, as the deadline is close, so you start working hard, and you're gonna get good marks, maybe B plus or A grade. In that case, that is the challenge stressors. The other side is the hindrance stressors, what I called you. In organization injustices, the conflict between the work and family life, and the politics, the bullying, bad supervision, these are the hindrance stressors. These are the bad causes of the stress, and you can't perform well under such conditions. The other side is the challenge stressors, the positive side of the stress. When you have the optimal kind of workload, and when it's about something challenging, something pressing you hard, yet it's quite interesting, so obviously you're gonna perform well. Challenge stressors are also called the eustress, and So here you can see the challenge stressors are stress associated with workload, pressure to complete task, and time urgency. Again, it's about what making you in a stress, what causing you in a stress. Hinder stressors, that keeps you from reaching your goals, such as red tapeism. And there are some other examples. What I told you, the injustice, the politics, the bad politics, what we call the petty politics. And then we have the discriminatory issues. These are the bad causes of the stress, can't make you keep going towards your goals. And what I told you, challenge stressors are also called the eustress, and hindrance stressors are called the distressing situations. ठीक है. Things are quite obvious on the slide. Eustress, positive, energizes, generally short term, can improve performance, build within coping mechanism. There are so many things. Well, the distress is generally feels unpleasant, often depletes energy, short term and long term. So there are a lot of things associated with these things. Students, ये मेरा ख्याल है कि आप लोग बड़े आसानी से समझ सकते हैं. We discuss this one in our conflict class again. But I told you the type and the intensity. Again, we discussed the type of the causes as well as the intensity. Well, uh, I'm not going to making it more complex. Rather, you can see at one side we have the stress, the other side it's about the performance. The stress level is going to increase at this side. It's about the stress. And here we have the performance. So performance is going to rise at this. So now what's the takeout? Students, if the stress is at a low level, your performance is also at a low level. Stress is at a moderate level, you can see performance is high. And when you get into a very high stress, then again your performance is low. So the takeout of this one is a very high stress is bad, a very low stress never makes a difference, but a moderate kind of stress is good. दरमियाना सा प्रेशर अगर आप चीजों का लें, तो that helps you to keep you going, you gonna achieve your goals. All right, students, the discussion about the stress cannot be completed without the discussion of this model, a demand and resource model. ठीक है. अब यहाँ पे इधर क्वेश्चन मेरा पढ़िएगा. वो स्टूडेंट्स जिनको बोलने में झिझक होती हो, when you have to present a topic, so you have the fear of presenting the topic. Very good. तो आप लोगों को प्रेजेंटेशन का कोई फियर नहीं है? यू फील गुड एवरीवन?
No, sir.
जी
हेलो जी बुजी, मैं ऊपर उसका तो अकेला खड़ा है। चल अच्छा वही होगा फिर। अच्छा फिर फंस जाऊंगा, फिर लंबा हो जाएगा। अच्छा
ठीक है जी। तो फिर इसका जो बातें आप लोगों ने लिखी हैं, इसका कंक्लूजन क्या है? आप लोगों ने कहा कि इफ आई एम प्रिपेयर्ड वेल सो आई फील गुड, इफ आई एम basically job demanded resource model. It's quite it's quite easy to understand this equation. Basically, stress is a situation which put on some special demands. But students, keep in mind, if you have the resources or if you feel you're gonna have the resources, you are not stressed out. For example, you know, I know it's about more than 30 students in the class, and majority of students are not good, and whenever it's about the presentation, majority of students are reluctant, they feel dejected, they are in a stress. The reason is maybe they are not very good, they don't have the presentation skills, maybe they are not prepared, maybe you have the presentation skills but you are not prepared. For example, I अभी यहाँ पर बात की है Mariam ne, even I'm good, I was good in college and school in presentation. तो मरियम और तैयबा को मैं कहता हूँ ओके जी, जस्ट यू नो गिव मी अ प्रेजेंटेशन on on some of the engineering aspects. ठीक है, चलें जी, आप म्यूटेशन ऑफ कोविड-19 के ऊपर जरा प्रेजेंटेशन दें in next 5 minutes, and all it depends, your presentation is about pass and fail of your final exam in OB course. Now, obviously, that is important to qualify this course. You got the presentations case, but the problem is the topic is new, it's novel, and you need some time. Resource to present this topic. The point is important. As you're gonna get this, all the resources, you won't be in a stress. The problem is some people or some students, they have a feel that they are not very good presenter, or even if they're gonna prepare, so they can't make it, they feel like they don't have the belief on themselves. Here I got just one example, and we have number of examples about it. So like you know, uh, uh, the person who's working in the bank, they are in a stress because they have to work a lot, they are in the bank till 6 or 7 o'clock. The problem is they don't have enough resources to meet the demand of the office. Like obviously they are confined with 24 hours, 8 hours for their rest and sleep. Rest of the 16 or 14 hours are going to be divided into the family life and the professional life. So how you gonna make it when you have limited hours for your family life, right? So students, the point is, when you have adequate, when you have enough resources to meet the demand, you are not in a stress. So that's what the axiom, right? That's what the tenant or the crux of this model. And according to this model, if you want to escape from the stress, then try to have adequate resources. um, the students who are good in communication, like they can write well, those who have the confidence, like by going through the chapters in 2 or 3 days they can make it well. So students, it's all about the resources. Now I can give you some examples. अच्छा, एक बात याद रखिएगा कि normally ना, when you have to consider yourself, then divide yourself into three categories. Everyone has the emotional aspect, we have the cognitive aspect, and we have the behavioral aspect. ठीक है? Like if you have to learn, or if you have to develop yourself, then you have to develop yourself in these three ways. बात लंबी हो जाएगी, मैंने आपको वैसे प्रिसाइजली बता दिया है कि वन शुड डेवलप हिज इमोशनल रिजर्वायर्स, वन शुड नॉट बी इमोशनली वीक, one should be good enough, or one should be developed by his cognition is your mental model. It's about your perception, your beliefs, your preferences, your attitude towards things, positivity, negativity, सारी चीजें आपके cognition में आ जाती हैं. ठीक है? कितने आप sharp है, आपका IQ कैसा है, ये आपका cognition में आएगा. Then you have the behavioral aspect. आप कैसे बात करते हैं, कैसे चलते हैं, ये सारी चीजें फिर आपका बिहेवियर एस्पेक्ट में आ जाएगा. बहरहाल एट दिस मोमेंट आई एम जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट, लेट्स से कि थैंक यू. अब देखिए, इंसान के कुछ इमोशनल डिमांड्स होती हैं. लाइक मे बी आई एम नॉट फीलिंग गुड, माय मूड इज ऑफ, सिंपली आई एम नॉट like feeling like doing anything. So in that case, maybe someone gonna help me, he can back me up. With that emotional support I can come out of that state. ठीक है? अच्छा सुन के, अच्छा सोच के, so that is my emotional reservoir na. Like everyone has an emotional memory, that is also very important. If I'm lonely, if I feel isolated, so with my friends, with someone who is too good with me, if I'm with his or her company, then obviously I would start feeling good. So you know, whenever you have some emotional issues, अब आप देख लें कि अल्लाह ना करे कि if something literally very bad happened, maybe a theft or robbery, or someone is in a critical situation, you know, you try to discuss with someone who's important to you, and literally you know what he's going to say, literally you know the kind of words he's going to exchange, yet you are going to discuss with your friends, with your family members, और वो उसी तरह की बात कर रहे थे. अल्लाह ना करे कि अगर किसी के घर में कोई मिसहैप हो जाए और कोई गुजर जाए, तो लोग जब उस कंडोलेंस के लिए आते हैं, तो आपको पता है कि वही बात है, आपको भी पता है कि वो क्या बात हो रही होती है. ठीक है? But even then we need to have a sport. In that case we need to discuss, or we need to exchange such kind of words. Basically we need to have that kind of resource, and with those words things may start getting better. Then we have the, इसको साइकोलॉजिकल में लिख देता हूँ, साइकोलॉजिकल डिमांड्स। अब ये साइकोलॉजिकल डिमांड्स में अब आप ये देख लीजिए, अब देखिए मैंने यहाँ पर कितनी सीधी सी बात लिखी है। लेट्स से कि यू आर गोइंग टू वर्क समवेयर and you have to work with some software. If you have the understanding of the, I literally when I look back and I recall my first job, Allah ka shukar hai ki I got few skills. I was too young, but I uh, I got I can say I had a reasonable communication skills. I was very good in writing now, so my drafting was good. I even got a very good typing skills. So I was not as much stressed out. But some of my friends, literally one of my colleague, and he was like me, na, matlab he was quite young. Every time, whenever it was the work pressure, he had to look for someone who could help him because he couldn't write well. ठीक है, in official decorum, you have to write a drafting a note on office order or memorandum. He didn't have that skill, and secondly, he was not good in a computer, though we had to have a very good, very basic skills of the computer. But I never felt any kind of stress, but he was in a stress. The reason was the difference of the resources. I got the skills. You had to, one or two students couldn't do well in the MCQs. Rest of the students, they literally, obviously they had to be in a stress. Reason being, they didn't have that much resources. उनके पास वो नॉलेज का पूल ही नहीं था जिससे वो उसको कर सकते. So during the exam, after the exam, it's not ought to be in a stress. So that is basic. So and what is the takeout for you students? Try to work out on your competencies. Competencies are literally a big blessing for you. If you are competent, you can do anything. So that journey should not stop. Keep on developing yourself. That अब जो मैं अभी presentation की बात कर रहा था, those who are good, they never feel any kind of stress. At even a PhD level, I can see, I can recall some of my students who were, matlab, around 2 years ago, there was a student, he was in a PhD coursework, and um, he had a phobia of presentation. But I had to call him for presentation because at that level, after some time, you will be teaching sometimes somewhere to the students. So but I could see just because of lack of that skills, the resources, he was every time in a stress. मैं उसे कोई क्वेश्चन करता था तो उसका रंग ही फेड हो जाता था. तो रीजन यही थी. तीसरी चीज जो मैं इसमें जो आपको बता रहा था कि हाउ टू इवेल्युएट योरसेल्फ, इट्स अबाउट योर इमोशंस, योर psychology, that is your perception, your beliefs, more importantly your intelligence and your analytical skills. ठीक है. स्टूडेंट से सवाल पूछे तो जिनको कुछ पता नहीं होता तो बेचारे तो टेंशन में रहते ही हैं, लेकिन जिनको पता होता है और जिनका बिलीव अपने आप पर होता है कि यार कोई बात करेंगे तो हम ठीक ही करेंगे, वो कभी भी किसी पैनिक का शिकार नहीं होता. द लास्ट वन इज द फिजिकल रिसोर्सेस. ठीक है, rather I should write physical demands. अच्छा चले, मैंने यहाँ पर अब फिजिकल रिसोर्स और डिमांड की एक एग्जांपल लिखी है। आपको पता है कि इन आर्मी एंड आल्सो फॉर police job you have to have a certain kind of physical strength. Like you should be I don't know much about it, like what typical criteria they follow, but I guess it may be around 6 feet height. One should be muscular, ठीक है, उसकी strength ऐसे होनी चाहिए, like he should not be so thin ना, even if have the 7 feet height. The reason is you have to ensure the security. But if you are so weak, what if you are quite thin and you are quite short, you cannot ensure security. और अच्छा, आप ऐसे लोगों को लगा भी दे पुलिस में, एक बंदा जिसकी हाइट ही चले जी 5 फुट है, maybe is quite intelligent, he got that resource, but he won't be able to ensure security because someone who is a hardcore criminal, normally they are quite agile, and they also have the, what should I say, कि जो ये चोरी चकारी में होते हैं, they even got a different passion. ठीक है, यानी एक चोर की जो स्पीड है, जो उसकी दौड़ है, वो एक आम आदमी से ज्यादा होगी. द रीजन इज के ही इज परफॉर्मिंग बियॉन्ड हिज कैपेसिटी. For that you need to have the person who have enough physical resources. ठीक है, he should be muscular. So that's why normally the police officers, no matter they are in a motorway police or in our conventional police, all kinds of security, but don't think about the securities in our universities. ठीक है, बेचारे तो बड़ी मुश्किल से उनको जॉब मिलती है, तो हालांकि होना उनका भी यही चाहिए, क्योंकि उनको भी स्ट्रॉन्ग होनी चाहिए. सो बेसिकली इट्स अबाउट द जॉब डिमांड एंड रिसोर्स मॉडल. Any questions, student, up to now? ओ माइक तो खुला हुआ है ना, मैं वैसे ही तो नहीं बोलता जा रहा.
यस सर, आवाज आ रही है आपकी.
यस सर, आवाज आ रही है.
ऑलराइट, सो ये सारी वो नरेशन है जो हमने डिस्कस किया. डिमांड्स आर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी, प्रेशर्स, ऑब्लिगेशन एंड uncertainties in the workplace, and resources are things within an individual's control that can be used to resolve demand. ठीक है स्टूडेंट्स, सो वजह इसकी यही है, एंड ऑलवेज कीप दिस फैक्ट इन योर माइंड. How you get to know you are in a stress? 5 quick ways to know that you are in a stress. ना ये अलग बात है कि some people are good to camouflage their feelings. Some people, एक बात मैं आपको बता दूं, याद रखिएगा, मेरा ख्याल है साइकोलॉजी में इसका कोई नाम भी है. इंसान को लगता है कि जैसा वो है ना, सारी दुनिया वैसे ही है. ठीक है, यानी अगर आपको ये हो कि you feel comfortable with people in a gathering, in a party, तो इंसान को लगेगा कि इसमें ऐसी क्या बात है, कोई मसला ही नहीं होता है इसमें, तो दुनिया को ऐसा ही होना चाहिए, दुनिया ऐसे ही है. लेकिन ऐसा होता नहीं है. There are so many odds when it's about people. Person to person things are quite different. बहरहाल बात ये है कि कुछ लोगों को इस बात का भी अंदाजा होता है कि वो स्ट्रेस में है. Maybe they don't have the understanding, or maybe they can't figure out the feel or the symptom of the stress. सही है, उनको लोग बताते हैं, बल्कि पेरेंट्स बताते हैं कि क्या बात है, आपके चेहरे पे 12 क्यों बजे हुए हैं, क्या बात है, कोई परेशानी है. ठीक है, अब परेशानी होने की अलग बात है, बट दैट परेशानी इज एक्चुअली कॉजिंग द स्ट्रेस, ये अलग बात है. एनीवेज, होता क्या क्या है. These are 5 of the ways. Let's discuss one by one. Number 1 is again, it depends. It varies from person to person. Check muscle tension by scanning. Sorry. Sometimes sometimes you are अब आपको क्या बताएं इस वक्त I guess you can see me on the screen. कुछ लोगों का ना like they feel a stretch in their muscles, the muscle side of their forehead or a shoulder, ठीक है, they feel a stress. अच्छा, बुजुर्ग इस बारे में ज्यादा कहते होते हैं कि आज ना पट्टे खिंचे हुए हैं. So they have the stress that mental exertion is actually trickle down to the exertion or the stress in some other muscle areas. Then check hand temperature. When you are in a stress, sometimes your palms are also sweating. अच्छा, ये बल्कि presentation में बड़ी common है कि people are sweating. Sometimes the sweating is visible at their forehead, but sometimes their palm जो हथेली है ना उधर sweating हो रही होती है. At least if it's not sweating ना, so you would have a different temperature of your palms. हाथ के हथेली का temperature आपका different. You're gonna get to know. You can just put that one at the neck if you find a difference at this moment. I can say little bit the same temperature. But if you have a different temperature other than अगर आप जैसे आज सर्दियों का मौसम है, बंदा बाहर से घूम के आए तो हाथ तो वैसे ही ठंडे हो, then it's also the symptom of the stress. Check your nervous stressing. Then this one is about what I told you. It's about sweating at your forehead. इंसान को जो sweating हो रही होती है, that can also be the cause of the stress. Check for the rapid pulse rate. Sometimes your heartbeat gets high, and if it is greater than 74 beats, then probably it's a cause. It's because of the stress. Uh, Provided if you are not the the heart patient, ठीक है. जो बड़े लोग होते हैं उनकी हार्ट बीट ज्यादा होती है. Those who are suffering from cardiac disease, blood pressure and this and that, so you are quite young. Well, I guess your heartbeat should be between 60 to 80, but if it cross 80, then you need to consider. And then it's about breathing. Normal breathing is from your lungs, but when you are in a stress, मेरा ख्याल है आप लोगों के लिए समझना खासा आसान है ये सारी चीजें, क्योंकि आप लोग ज्यादा इस सिचुएशन से गुजरते हैं. एक तो when you are young ना, so you got to do some naughty moves. Maybe you are in a university and in an area which is not allowed, ठीक है, जो हमारा गार्डनिंग साइड होती है यूनिवर्सिटी में अलाउ नहीं होती, स्टूडेंट जो है वहाँ पर इजाजत नहीं होती. अच्छा, फिर जब व्हेन दे आर कॉट ना, सो दे हैव अ वेरी डिफरेंट, you have to appear in interview, you caught doing something a wrongdoing, you have to face the questions of your teacher. Now in that case आप लोग फिर ऊपर ऊपर से सांस ले रहे होते हैं. फिर वही बात मैं आपको कहूंगा कि स्टूडेंट जिनको ये फील नहीं होती उनके लिए समझना मुश्किल है, उनको लगेगा ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है, लेकिन शैलो ब्रीदिंग होती है. जब आप बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रेस में होते हैं आपको समझ नहीं आ रही कि सांस कैसे लें. और इंटरव्यू में तो मैंने ये देखा देखा क्या, बल्कि मेरे साथ होता है कि
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir. सर ये कुछ स्टूडेंट्स की तरफ से सर रिक्वेस्ट है कि लेक्चर जल्दी आज अगर आप कंप्लीट कर दें, क्योंकि कल दो पेपर्स हैं अक्सर बच्चों के ना, वो कह रहे हैं कि प्रिपरेशन के लिए टाइम थोड़ा सा मिल जाएगा।
अच्छा चलो ठीक है, जल्दी हम 6 o'clock तक इसको वाइंड अप कर लेते हैं।
चलिए सर ठीक है सर, अगर पॉसिबल है तो सर 5:30 तक ना कर लें वाइंड अप, क्योंकि नमाज का भी फिर टाइम है बीच में।
यस सर प्लीज सर, फिर हमारा पेपर भी है और हमने उसकी प्रिपरेशन भी करनी है और नमाज टाइम भी होंगी। तो
आप अगर ये मरियम आप बात कर रही हैं?
जी सर।
आप अगर मुझे पहले बता देते ना तो फिर मैं 1 go में इसको कर देता। अब बात यह है कि आप लोगों ने नमाज की भी ब्रेक है, 5:30 तक नमाज का टाइम होगा।
कुछ सिटीज में तो होगा, लेकिन आई थिंक इस्लामाबाद में नहीं होगा 5:30
सर ब्रेक ना दें, 5:30 तक वाइंड अप कर दें सर।
यस सर, 5:30 तक वाइंड अप कर दें।
अच्छा चलो ठीक है, 5:30 तक इसको वाइंड अप करते हैं।
ओके
सर आप 5:20 तक अगर वाइंड अप कर दें तो नमाज का टाइम होता है 5:20 तक।
आप मुझे पहले बता दिया करें ना, अब आप लोग बता लेट रहे हैं, मैं 1 go में उसी स्पीड में फिर बात कर लेता।
सर वो बस
खैर
मैं था कि और क्लास सर कोई भी
अभी
नहीं
भी
ले
तो
रहा, कोई टीचर ना, कोई टीचर भी क्लास नहीं ले रहे हमारी ना सर। वो हम लोग तो उसमें थे कि शायद आपने मतलब लिंक भेजा है ना, तो आपने शॉर्ट लेक्चर लेना होगा, इस वजह से किसी ने बोला नहीं।
ये क्या क्या अगर टीचर आपने क्या करना होगा?
सर हमें तो था कि आपने शायद मतलब छोटा कोई लेक्चर होगा, आपने लेक्चर लेना होगा छोटा सा ना, तो आप जल्दी एंड कर देंगे, क्योंकि फुल क्लासेस में आजकल कोई टीचर नहीं ले
अच्छा
रहे।
मुझे ये बताओ कल पेपर का क्या टाइम है, पेपर कितने बजे खत्म हो रहा है आपका?
सर हम लोगों का तो सर कुछ लोगों का है 3:45 से सर ऑनवर्ड्स है, और कुछ लोगों का मॉर्निंग में भी है, उनका पता नहीं क्या टाइमिंग है। हम लोगों का
सर कल एक्चुअली हमारा स्पेशलाइजेशन के पेपर्स है ना, तो सबके अलग अलग हैं और इसी तरह अलग अलग टाइमिंग भी है सबकी।
चलो ठीक है, बहरहाल इसको तो वाइंड अप कर।
जी सर।
ओके सर।
मैं इसका भी एक केस स्टडी आपसे डिस्कस करनी थी, उसके लिए हमें 30 मिनट चाहिए, वो अब आज नहीं हो सकती, वो मेरा था कि कल या फिर हम परसों कर लेते हैं, तो वो बाद में अब देखते हैं। अभी इसको हम देख लेते हैं बिकॉज दैट वन इज ऑब्वियसली रिलेटेड विद दिस लेक्चर एंड फॉर दैट केस स्टडी दिस पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड इज इम्पोर्टेंट। ठीक है जी। हाँ, अ मॉडल ऑफ द स्ट्रेस, कॉजेस क्या है इन चीजों के होने के और आगे होता क्या है। कहते हैं कभी कभी ज्यादा पढ़ा लिखा होना भी वबाले जान बन जाता है। मिसाल के तौर पर इफ यू आर लर्नड पर्सन ना, if you are good in economics or the economy, when you have a lot of interest in politics, or when you are the student of international relations and the politics ना, देखें बाहर कोई बंदा कोई रक्षा चला रहा है ना, नहीं होगी कि जी वर्ल्ड मार्केट में, ठीक है, इन इंटरनेशनल मार्केट द प्राइसेस ऑफ द ऑयल्स आर नाउ क्वाइट हाई, उसको इस चीज का कोई नहीं। हाँ, अगर आप पढ़े लिखे हैं तो आपको अंदाजा होगा कि उसकी वजह से द प्राइसेस ऑफ द पेट्रोल इन पाकिस्तान आर गोइंग टू बी हाई, and with that increase in the oil price, everything is going to be affected, no matter it's vegetables, it's any of the grocery items. Even you'll have to pay more money to even travel to your office and college universities. So sometimes na, when you are learned person, then you take more stress of the things. So what are the causes of the stress? They are categorized into the environmental factors, the macro dynamics, then the organizational level dynamics, and then we have the personal factors. About the environmental factors, बात सुनिए, लेते हैं।
अभी बंदा नहीं आया, चल
5 मिनट है, चलो नहीं आप जाए, हम जाए, मैं कर लेता हूँ। Now, economic uncertainty भी आपको जो मिसाल दी उससे रिलेटेड है कि level पर when you get to know like the prices are going high now, then one will have is the inflation. एक आम आदमी को नहीं चीजें क्या हो रही है सही, then the uncertainty, the kind of chaos we are seeing now, so आपको अंदाजा होगी no one gonna invest in the country if in our country, ठीक है, unfortunately we are facing these, मतलब तो जब से शायद वॉइस हमारा में चीजें देखता चला आ रहा हूँ सही, when there is a stability in the government, then obviously the companies are going to invest in Pakistan. When I see things are quite random, quite disordered, then I know like if foreign investment is not coming, then we'll have to pay the price. The things are not going to develop with a pace. Technological change, sahi, in some industry, this one is so important, especially if you are IT professional, then you know, like every time when change of the technology, you have to revert over to the new technology. There is a very famous case of the Nokia. I still remember with the QWERTY phone, cell phone. Every time I had, whenever I had to go for the mobile phone, then the Nokia my first. Nokia is out from the market. It's not because of the quality. It's about they couldn't, go for the latest, the new technology. And now you can see Nokia is not the market leader. They are maybe at the 5th or 6th level, maybe lower than that. The point is that when there is the technological change, आपके ऑफिस में पता लग जाए कि you are comfortable with manual work and now you have to learn new skills, you would be in a stress, and that's quite obvious. Then the organizational factors, task, and the task is quite overarching, quite complicated. In a stress, demand role का मतलब होता है जब आपको मुख्तलिफ नौयत के काम करने हैं. अब रोल डिमांड का मतलब है कि फर्ज करें आपको मैं कहता हूँ कि यू हैव टू सुपरवाइज प्रोडक्शन, यू हैव टू आल्सो devise the marketing strategies, you also have to supervise individuals, their HR issues. So there are so many roles, so many responsibilities associated with you, so that's quite obvious. Personal demands, when you have the conflict with boss, with भी मसले हैं, पर्सनल में फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स, होम इकोनॉमी, हो सकता है आपकी इनकम अच्छी हो लेकिन आपके शौक ज्यादा हो, so it means you cannot make a balance on what you are earning and how you are spending. हर बंदे का दिल करता है कि उसके ट्रैवलिंग के लिए बेहतरीन गाड़ी हो और डाइन a very good restaurant, लेकिन you have to take those decisions for earning, and if you go beyond your level you are in a stress. Bharal ji, and then we got different stress. Personality की बात है, कुछ personality ही ऐसी होती है, कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं कि उनको स्ट्रेस में आने के लिए किसी रीजन का होना जरूरी नहीं होता, छोटी छोटी बातों को माइंड कर लेते हैं, छोटी छोटी बातों पर इमोशनल इंस्टेबिलिटी शो करते हैं, छोटी बातों का स्ट्रेस ले लेते हैं। तो पर्सनैलिटी इज अ फैक्टर। कोशिश करके इंसान को इन चीजों से बाहर निकलना चाहिए। देयर आर सम वेज, कभी बात हुई तो मुझसे आप पूछ लीजिएगा, मैं आपको थोड़े से टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स इस बारे में दूंगा, लेकिन अभी आपके लिए समझना तो आसान है कि कुछ पर्सनैलिटी ही ऐसी होती है, उनको देखें तो पता लगता है कि शायद दुनिया के सारे मसले इन्हीं के साथ ही हैं। Then there are the causes, क्या हो सकता है कि there can be the physical causes, इंसान ब्लड प्रेशर, कार्डिक इश्यूज, इंसान के बिहेवियर इश्यूज आ जाते हैं, काम करने को दिल नहीं करता, प्रोडक्टिविटी, मे बी द एब्सेंटिज्म, एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज द काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव एक्टिविटीज। इंसान काम तो कर रहा होता है लेकिन 100% नहीं कर रहा होता। सो दीज आर द आउटकम्स, बट दीज आर इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट्स। स्टूडेंट्स, इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंसेस ऑन, ये याद रखिए कि कॉजेज जो भी हो लेकिन वैसे नहीं लेते, दे आर वेरी गुड स्ट्रेस एब्जॉर्बमेंट। रीजन कैन बी एनीथिंग, लेकिन उनमें अल्लाह की तरफ से कुछ ऐसे शॉक्स लगे होते हैं। 1 2 3 4 5 6, मैं क्योंकि ये बात अब लंबी हो जाएगी and we don't have time, so I just want you to go through all these factors and मेरा ख्याल है कल आपका पेपर है, आप इसके बारे में खुद से तैयारी कीजिएगा, सही। And then I am going to discuss how these are the stress nuisers, the perception, job experience, social support. The most important is the locus of control. मेरा बड़ा एक favorite topic है locus of control, इसको ने जरूर पढ़ना है। So this one is the assignment. In the stress model, how these factors can help you to come out of the stress. And then these are the some of the factors what you can do to diffuse stress. 2 of your assignments we're gonna discuss later on all these issues, क्योंकि अगर इसको मैं rapidly करूँ तो शायद आपको बात समझ में ना आए। और मैंने आपको बताया था कि I used to deliver training on stress management, so I think these are the factors which are very important for you. अल्लाह ना करे आप लोग स्ट्रेस में हो, लेकिन आने वाली जिंदगी में स्ट्रेसफुल इवेंट्स they are inevitable, और उनमें क्या करना है और कैसे हम अपने आप को we can make ourselves a true psychological capital person, ये हम फिर बाद में बात कर लेते हैं, ठीक है, क्योंकि नमाज का टाइम भी अब गुजर रहा है। तो आप लोग कल पेपर से फ्री हो जाएं। आई गेस आई नीड 1 hour ऑफ यू टू डिस्कस अगेन, तो वो फिर आप बता दीजिए, ठीक है। इट्स नॉट ऑलवेज अबाउट एकेडमिक्स क्लासेस ना, समटाइम्स इट्स बेटर टू लर्न समथिंग। दीस टॉपिक्स आर क्वाइट प्रैक्टिकल इन नेचर, तो उसका ना कम से कम 1 घंटा मेरा नहीं ख्याल मुश्किल होगा आपके लिए, तो ये कमिंग वीक में निकाल लीजिएगा, इसको एक दोबारा डिस्कस कर लेते हैं, ये 2 स्लाइड्स। लेकिन ये आपने खुद तैयार करना है, ये मैं आपको डिस्कस कर लूंगा कि क्या ऐसे आप कर सकते हैं, ठीक है।
ठीक है सर,
ठीक है। अब मैंने आप लोगों की बात मानी है, आई एम गोइंग टू वाइंड अप क्लास बिट अर्ली। इट्स योर ड्यूटी टू गो थ्रू these 6 factors, then we're going to discuss. Okay sir,
sir kindly slide share
ग्रुप में आपको इन्फॉर्म कर दूंगा।
ओके सर,
स्लाइड शेयर कर दूंगा, ठीक है, ठीक है, अल्लाह हाफिज।